Good morning, everybody. It's what, 1st of May. May Day! May Day! May Day! Guess you have to say that 3 times. Anyway, it's 1st of May 2025. It's 6:45 in the morning. And yeah, I'm sort of near where I live. One note first, I should say something about that May Day. I looked that up. I was thinking, why do they say May Day? You know, May Day, May Day. And I think in the movies they say it twice, but I found out you're supposed to say it 3 times, and that's supposed to prevent whoever is getting your distress signal at sea that that it's not radio chatter or something like that. But apparently it has nothing to do with the month of May. I guess it's some sort of it comes from French, and I guess it was somehow saying something in French, but it apparently, of course, Americans, they bastardize a lot of stuff, so they make it now that where it says May Day. Anyway, that's just to put that one out. Okay, talk about distress, you know. You see what's going on. I haven't been mentioning it, but it's what we're looking at, like with Pakistan and India. And I believe Pakistan used to be a part of India at one point in time. I don't know so much about that area, but to a large extent, I have a lot of respect for Pakistan as well, and of course for India. When I was in the coffee business, I got my bags, my coffee bags, very good quality from India, and I would package my coffee in that, so I had that sent. Also a lot of, good people in India, a lot of intelligent people, and they're industrious. You know, every place has its problems, I guess. Sometimes you can point out problems, and at the same time, the problem is actually a benefit. So I don't know exactly what, but there's some obviously bad things, like I said. And Pakistan, one thing, you're starting to get a very bad opinion of Pakistanis when you hear about what's going on in Great Britain, where they have big bands of Pakistani men, and they're getting British girls and grooming them for sex and things like that. So I guess in large numbers, but of course, sadly enough, and a lot of people are noticing that. That's why a lot of people in Great Britain have total disdain for their government, because apparently the government is helping them do that. They're covering up for them instead of fighting the crime. I really don't know. Makes you really wonder, are they complicit in that? Are police complicit in doing all of this sex stuff? A lot of time the police are complicit in a lot of countries. For example, I remember I was in Bulgaria some years ago, and I met other people when I got back to Germany that were also went to Bulgaria. And of course, this one guy, his wife was Bulgarian. They'd been back there many times. And if you go there, like for example, with a nice car, there's a big car thieving ring. I think that we're talking about Varna. He was in Varna, it wasn't in Sofia at that time, which was the capital of Bulgaria, but it was on Varna, which is a big tourist place. But if you drive down there with your car, and apparently, and there's a lot of evidence to prove that this is actually fact, but the police are in league with a lot of these guys that steal cars. So they thief your car, and they'll cover up for it. They'll help these people. And when somebody drives in with certain cars, I don't know, and then they steal them, and then the police, of course, they never find your car because they're part of it as well. And I think maybe even on the border. So it's a lot of corruption there. And I've known people also from Romania, and they talk about how corrupt that country, at least, what time am I talking? I'm talking like 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. I don't know if things have changed. I sort of doubt it. It's just like Ukraine has actually just become more and more corrupt. So Ukraine, very, very corrupt place. Oh look, somebody's over there in the distance. I don't know if you can see it, picking up trash. Who was this person here? Probably was drinking. I have no idea. I think in the warmer weather, like a lot of time, see these places, well, there's a bench there. So I think the person was already up here and they picked up trash, so there's trash bags here. And I mentioned about these birds that come through here. I just saw some when I was walking this way, and they're trashing. They pull the trash out of the trash cans and the wind blows. It's a windy day. They're blowing it all over the place. So anyway, there's some bags there. Anyway, let's go into the news. Like I'm saying, what's going on with Pakistan and India? You know, it seems like it's quite serious, and I haven't been talking about it. I'm not covering it so much, but Pakistan keeps putting out, in the next 24 hours, India's going to attack. And they haven't attacked, of course. All kinds of things like that. Zelensky comes up with stuff. Like I even said yesterday, he's telling Poland that Russia is going to attack in the summertime. And I don't know. But I think in Pakistan, what were they saying? It's imminent. And India, of course, is coming up with a lot of threats. And I always thought that Modi was a very calm guy, but he's pretty pissed off about that. I don't know if they think or believe, or maybe it's true, I have no idea, that there was some sort of I guess you'd call it a terrorist activity. And some are, at least on the Indian side, they're saying that was done by Pakistan. I don't know. You know, they have this Kashmir area, and they're, wondering who that belongs to. And in India, actually, they have some sort of a border dispute also with China. So, I don't know. And then, of course, there's a lot of border disputes still. Like Russia had this thing with Japan. And I guess according to what happened in World War II, it belongs to Russia. But Japan kept claiming it and all. And then I guess now when Japan joined the side of Ukraine, for the most part, or the West, or Biden, whatever the deal might be, Russia said, okay, well, it's not disputed anymore. That's ours. So Russia was actually willing to, work things out with negotiations and things like that. That proves that fact. And Russia always had the power to take it. And of course now they said, okay, well, now it's ours. And it's a little bit similar to what's going on right now with the Minsk agreements and all that. But of course the entire West, and they've always had a desire, as you know, and I've been talking about it, of taking over parts of Russia. And like I said yesterday, there's a lot of things going on right now. I guess maybe it's this lead up to May 9th. And you see it in the West, and like the leadership in Belarus as well as Russia, all the leadership, they know that there is some sort of a design to try to erase the truth of what happened in World War II and make it look like Russia didn't play no part. Some are trying to say that Russia was on the side of the Nazis, and they forget the fact that they had a lot of these countries that were on the side of the Nazis. Finland is one of them. How many times has Russia had to whoop Finland? And they've been very generous to Finland, gave them their complete independence and all that, with only, like I said yesterday, the promise that they will stay neutral. And then, of course, now Finland decided they're not going to stay neutral. And they've built up quite a huge army. And it really makes you wonder, well, why did Finland need a huge army during that time anyway? And you think about it, if you were a decent, honest politician, can you think of anything better than having the condition of neutrality? You, personally speaking, you don't even need a military. And you have neutrality. You could deal with anyone you want, business deals, anything like that. I mean, like Switzerland was for many years. And now, of course, the West has got Switzerland to join against Russia as well. I mean, they're far away from Russia. And what's the point of that? It makes you really wonder how they're doing this stuff. Making whatever it is, promises and threats and everything possible. And the whole deal is to go after Russia. And some of these countries, they realize that even united, 10 of them cannot beat Russia. But yet the whole thing is, they're promising them all sorts of good things. We all know that Germany was promised a lot of things, and Germany and a lot of these countries, these are kind of like secret agreements, and don't deny the fact that there's a lot of secret agreements. Vladimir Lenin, he exposed the Sykes-Picot Agreement when he took over, even though he was, for the most part, he was an agent of Germany. He was sent there to destabilize Russia. That was his mission. I mean, not that he even knew that, but the Germans at that time, they knew that would happen because he was a communist and he was influential. It's very much like Stefan Bandera, and that's why the Russians or the Germans locked him up in Germany, because I don't know, somehow these people have a way of being very persuasive. You've met persuasive people in your lifetime, And I guess when you have power and you see that there's somebody that's against whatever you're for, and they're very persuasive, that frightens you. So anyway, that's what that's all about. And yeah, like I said, you've met persuasive people before, people that a lot of people will follow. Yeah. Anyway, but I don't know. Nose starting to run again. Look at this. A lot of, I guess they're little, some type of maple trees coming up here. If you want one in your yard. Wow, look at all kinds of them. I think that's an alder. No, it's not alder. I don't know. Very close to alder. Look at this. They missed something. I don't know. I thought they came and picked up here when I saw that bag. Maybe they did only on that side. And this half over here. Maybe they worked their way up the hill, because I see more garbage over here. So here I am sneaking around early in the morning so that you guys can see that Belarus is not always as clean as it always appears to be. So there are places in the back roads and trails and things that you do see garbage as well. But like I said, you know, like that person wherever they're at now, going around picking up the garbage. And of course this stuff is not cheap. You got to pay a lot of people. As a matter of fact, there was a job offer that was shown to me, since I'm not in classes anymore, and it was cleanup, a cleanup man. They needed a cleanup man, and I think, what was it, from 8 to 5, and you don't work weekends. It's kind of strange, but anyway, and it's 1,700 rubles a month, which is not really bad, even though it's chicken feed for in the States, but things are cheaper here. And I'll tell you what, I could, when you own your own apartment and things, you could make a living on 17,000 on your own. But here, this is some garbage. Somebody got a shawarma here, had themselves a couple beers as well. I don't know. So anyhow, let's keep going with this stuff. You know, like I said, I don't know, but this thing with Pakistan and India, that could be really bad when you think about it. Think of the potential of that. Both of these people have nuclear weapons, and I don't know. It seems like at the moment there's a lot of hatred. So, but I tell you, I think maybe even in the Pakistan, I don't know so much about Pakistan. India, normally they are very rational people, a lot of very rational people in India and the government. You know, the Jaikan Shah, did I say his name right? The foreign minister of India, very intelligent guy. Modi, I don't think there's anything bad with him. I think maybe the government of Pakistan is also good to go. There's been some good people from there too, but yeah, anything could happen. But can you imagine, and Ukraine trying to get nuclear weapons? Can you imagine, you know, Nazis getting nuclear weapons? Can you imagine that? And you would think, when you were looking at some of this behavior from some of these people in the West, Kaya Kallas, who came out again, anyway. But these people are stupid, really incredibly stupid people. They have, I don't know, makes you wonder, how in the heck could they get there? It's like they have no brain qualifications. And I think Tucker Carlson has said that. A lot of people say, you know, these people, they technically speaking, they really don't have working brains. Look at Annalena Baerbock. She's the foreign minister of Germany, and she doesn't know what the heck she's doing. How do these people get there? In the old days, you had to be an intelligent person to get these positions, and now they got a bunch of dumb idiots. I guess the only prerequisite is that you hate Russia. If you hate Russia, you're good to go. That is the only prerequisite. Well, do you hate Russia? Okay, then you got the job, baby. Look at, somebody was out here cleaning the garbage up. Look at this stuff here. And it makes you really wonder. Sometimes it's right by the trees. Here's another beer bottle and some stuff here. Look at this. Same thing here. Oh my. Anyway, for the most part, everything is clean. But, well. Anyhow, bunch of idiots, bunch of freaking idiots. And I tell you what, you give them nuclear weapons and they're probably going to use them. You know, Ukraine is losing the war. In spite of what his name is Keith Kellogg came out and said, that lets you know why the Russians do not want this Keith Kellogg, who was supposed to be the envoy, to reach peace between Ukraine and Russia, but he's very strongly anti-Russian. It's very much like this other person in the State Department, Tammy Bruce. She really hates Russia too. So, I guess it's only inevitable that you get these people. You get like John Bolton. He hates Russia too. He hates everybody. John Bolton. He just wants a war. He's any war. It's like Lindsey Graham. These people are so intricately entwined with the military-industrial complex, that they'll take any war against anybody. So they'll go to war with Canada if it comes down to it. Oh gosh. Yeah. So. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. Okay, chemtrails. I want to talk about chemtrails. Very strange. When I was a kid, a lot of you are older like myself, and I lived in Montana up till the age of 5. I remember even in Montana looking up, saying, what are those things? And you're seeing these chemtrails. And I believe it was my father. It's very strange. I can even remember this stuff. And I believe I was like 4 or 5 years old. And he was saying, oh, it's steam, something from the engines or whatever like that. And I don't really know what it was. But we're talking, that's way back in the early 60s, in the 1960s, because I'm 24 years old. 25, okay. I'm 25 years old. But anyway, it was way back then. And then at some point in time, that's why I was thinking that this chemtrail stuff is nothing but conspiracy theory garbage. And I somehow still kind of think about that. Let me keep going here, because I don't even know when they started this. But then you have enter Bill Gates. Bill Gates, of course, he brought more life to that. And Bill Gates, the scientist, the great scientist of Bill Gates, the Dr. Bill Gates, who wants to make, I don't know. He's tied to Google, so I don't know. But the guy pisses me off so much, that I have to say something. And trust me, even people at Google, there's people that work for Google. It's not like they're a bunch of idiots, really. There are a lot of them intelligent people. They might be bent and somehow, misguided politically and what's going on in the world and a lot of things like that. A lot of them in Google. And there are, of course, some of the people on the top that are extremely corrupt people in Google, extremely corrupt. Makes you wonder, they're probably going to delete me for this video. But they're fair and all that. I mean, it's a bunch of fake stuff. AI probably does most of all their stuff. They probably answer anything. Anytime they send anything, it's probably AI that's actually writing it, no real human beings. But in any case, I should mention, you should watch this movie. Whoever the girl is that was in Harry Potter, I think she is the star of this, and Tom Hanks is in that movie too. It's called The Circle, and I don't think they give that much promotion to that movie. I don't know, but it's virtually talking about Google, and this girl believes that it's a very nice company, very good for people, for the world and all that, and finds out that they're actually very corrupt. Well, that's Google. It's weird that Hollywood is not all that bad. They come up with some really crazy stuff. So there's a lot of corruption in Google, of course, as we know. And like I said, but there's good people that work in Google as well, and a lot of them probably feel the same way that I do. I don't know if they're able to voice their opinion. But Bill Gates, he's a knucklehead, and I don't know. I'm very skeptical about what I'm allowed to say. I mentioned a lot of things like about Planned Parenthood. I think I was doing it yesterday. That his parents were the ones that I think started that. Anyway, they're involved in that. And this is about eugenics, trying to reduce the world's population, but not their kids, your kids, And like these TED Talks, you see Bill Gates get up there and talking about that they need to reduce the world's population. In other words, kill off a whole bunch of people. And then you got a bunch of people clapping, And it makes you wonder, well, okay, you guys that are clapping, you can be the first. You can be the first to go. Just step right up, So what do you want? You want lethal injection? Do you want the electric chair? What do you want? You don't want to drink some poison? Hemlock, like Socrates, so you can think you're a really smart person? That's how Socrates, he drank the hemlock, so maybe you can drink the hemlock too. Since you're smart, your fart smell. I mean, it's not fart. Did I say fart smellers? Yeah, you smell Bill Gates' farts. Jeez, gosh. a bunch of stupid, stupid, stupid people. I don't know. It really makes you wonder, is there something? Are they feeding us something? Is it these chemicals that they're putting in the food? Is it chemtrails? No, but actually Bill Gates, I was getting on to Bill Gates and chemtrails. He actually said that. He actually said, and I guess they approved of this, he has a real program for this. When you have billions of dollars, I guess you can force this stuff through, but it's never his money. I'll tell you what, it's taxpayers' money. When you have this influence and you can, get to people. He even tried with Donald Trump. I don't know how far he got. You hear about these meetings, but you never know what the actual results really are. But anyway, he wants to have airplanes spewing all sorts of chemicals into the atmosphere. By the way, these are toxic chemicals, and obviously it filters down into the earth. You think it's just going to stay up there? But he says, it's going to reflect the sun's light because we have global warming. So man-made global warming. So let's use some dangerous chemicals, and by the way, CO2 is not, in matter of fact, I think he's still coming up with this stuff. CO2 is not a toxic chemical. It's not, and it never has been. So anyway, unless you have a huge amount of it, but so if you have a huge amount of water, it's called drowning. That's also dangerous. But anyway, Bill Gates, he wanted to use, I think one of them was aluminum oxide, and a lot of this stuff would probably be taken up into plants, and then we eat the plants, and then we become stupid. We become like Annalena Baerbock or Kaya Kallas or Ursula von der Leyen, with Russia taking the computer chips out of the washing machines and the refrigerators to make bombs with. My Lord, my Lord. Anyway, never say never. Kaya Kallas, she came out and she said that the European Union will never recognize the Crimea as Russian territory. Yes, sure, it belonged to Russia for over 1,000 years, and only for a very short time it belonged administratively only to Ukraine, and all the people pretty much there are Russian, but we will never recognize it as Russian, even though it is only undeniable logic that it is Russian. None of the people ever wanted to be a part of it, but it's going to be Ukraine's. So we will force those people under the United Nations, which does not exist, by the way. These people have a right, for freedom. A freedom of choice or whatever. And it's under the, didn't that work with Kosovo? No, So they split big portions of Yugoslavia off, the European Union, and they went to war, and NATO, and they bombed the place to smithereens. And then, of course, they put out a whole bunch of lies about that too. That was during the Clinton times. And of course, now we're going to have perpetual war there and people hating each other. That's just exactly what they want. That's a George Soros sort of deal. Get people to keep fighting against each other, keep fighting and fighting and fighting. That's the whole idea of this. And it wasn't the idea of Stalin when he started carving off pieces of all kinds of other countries to make a Ukraine. There was actually a little tiny region, sort of even around Kiev there. Oh, and by the way, I started reading this book. I don't know how far I'm going to get, how much time and all that, but it's The History of Russia by Rizanovsky. And anyway, it says in there, and this book was written originally in the 1960s, and it says in that book, that about Kievan Rus, I should have written it down, is Russian. Kievan Rus, that is Russian. And they say that's the beginning of the Russia, but there's different places you can say, and and of course it acknowledges in that book that there's the Eastern Slavs, which are the Ukrainians, and it was possibly they say it was one language at one time, and then it split off into Ukrainian, Belarusian, and Russian. So, but originally it was just I don't know if they call it Great Russian or whatever the deal is. So look at this. I got somebody coming on this side, and a couple drunk guys over there on this side. Probably the guys that are throwing the bottles around over there. Oh, they're stopping by a tree. One guy's got a bottle in his hand. I should watch these guys. Anyhow, look at this. Another bottle over here. I didn't see it. These huge bottles of beer. Can you imagine? And it's not even that warm, so they're sitting out here drinking. I don't know. Well, let's keep going on this stuff here. Okay, that was about the chemtrails for the most part. And anyway, what I was going to say is Florida put a ban. They put a ban on chemtrails. And so I guess it's not really just a conspiracy theory. I guess it's a real thing. You know, that these people are, I mean, obviously with Bill Gates, it's a real thing. He wants to put up chemicals and spew them all over into the atmosphere, thinking he's going to reflect the sun. What a stupid, stupid, stupid idiot. Toxic chemicals. Hey, that's the answer. And then, of course, we can reduce the world's population that way, too. Make people get really sick. A lot of them will die off. How can that go wrong? You know? And it'll go into the sea, and the fish will also get it. It'll get in, I mean... And of course, there's never been any experiments to find out how this stuff works. So we'll just do it all over. Anyway, the United States government approved of that. But Florida is now putting a ban on this stuff. So Florida said that if you do this, well, anyway, they haven't done it yet. It's up for consideration. And of course, you know, Florida is a little bit more of a real state with some probably intelligent people. Or I don't understand how you get a bunch of dumb idiots in so many places. Of course, throughout the United States as well. And some things, even Donald Trump is pretty stupid. Ooh. Somebody threw up down here. You know, I guess it makes me wonder. I should come here maybe in the, who knows when? When are the drunks kind of wandering around here? People sitting around and drinking. Look at those two guys are still standing there. I'll bet you they're into that too. Anyway, I'm not much into that sort of a lifestyle, parties and drunks and things like that. So anyway, they're going to put a ban on that, or they say want to. It looks like it's getting very close. And your punishment for spewing chemtrails is, where was it? It's 5 years in prison and $100,000 fine. Wow. Wow, incredible. I guess the bill is all about no geoengineering. So this is directly against Billy Gates, boy, you know? Billy Gates, the great scientist, doctor, billionaire that loves people. He wants to save lives by reducing population by at least 15%, you know? You guys saw that video yesterday, interesting things. Anyway, Ukraine. I guess they finally signed this minerals deal. And of course, Zelensky has been stalling and stalling. But wait a minute, Trump said that it was Russia that was stalling all the time. You know, I don't even know why Trump says that stuff when he knows it's not true. That Russia is stalling. It's Ukraine. Russia keeps coming out and saying the same thing. It has to be taken, or not taken. Anyway, I wonder if there's looks like a road up there. I don't know, some building. I don't think I've ever walked up that way. See what's up there. Okay. Anyway, we gotta wait. Nose running a little, and see how this all works out with this minerals deal. Anyway, there were some people saying, well, there's hardly any minerals there. You know, and Donald Trump, again, he said, oh, Zelensky, he doesn't have any cards. He doesn't have any cards. Well, it turns out that Zelensky, I said in one video, he does have cards. But I don't know. I guess he's got the major cards. And even Trump himself, you know, even when Russia says that he's not the legitimate leader of Ukraine, Tucker Carlson said that also, by the way, just yesterday. And he's not. And Russia said the danger of signing anything with Zelensky is whenever the next government comes in, they'll just say, well, it's null and void because he was not the legitimate leader of Ukraine. So we don't have to honor that. And it's very true. That could happen. And I don't think they're going to do that to the United States because, you know, Russia never really bombs anybody for those kind of reasons, you know. But the United States does. They find a way to really ruin you and do kinds of nasty things to you if you don't do as they tell you to do. And of course, especially you would think, if you sign some agreement with the United States and then you renege on it, I think they would probably not look very favorable in the United States. Who knows what they would do, you know, poison you or bomb you or doing some stuff, you know. They're very nasty people, the United States government. Okay, so we'll see how that one works out. I don't know, makes you think that Zelensky has a way to trick Donald Trump because, you know, I was going on about the card. So Ukraine has the card. Donald Trump wants to look like a big shot by bringing peace between Russia and Ukraine, the war that never would have started if he was the president, things like that. So, and that was one of his biggest campaign promises. And Zelensky keeps saying, well, I don't like it right now. Well, I don't know. And Zelensky has a ban on talking to Russia. So how is that going to happen? And it looks like, since it has to be Zelensky signing it, normally, before Donald Trump, everybody was saying it's between the United States and Russia. It's not between Ukraine and Russia. But now it looks like, I don't know, maybe Donald Trump is in a way a kind of a pussy or something like that. And of course, if he wanted to actually be a tough guy, he could make it between the United States and Russia. But he's not. I don't know. He's like kind of shoving it off onto Ukraine. In truth, he would just have to stop all of this stuff going to Ukraine. He could threaten them and use his cards. I'll tell you what, I promise you, Zelensky would do that. Zelensky would say, you do what we say or we're going to cut you off. Zelensky's done that all the time. It's like when Slovakia didn't want to send money to Ukraine and support Ukraine and be on the side of the European Union for continuing this war and, giving all their weapons and spending lots and lots of money sending it all to Ukraine, like some of the other ones. Zelensky cut off the oil pipeline. So now they have to get their oil through the Turkish stream. So it has to go now, from Russia all the way to the south and then all the way back up again. And of course, that's not even necessarily 100% sustainable, but at the moment it's working. And, it's very difficult to be doing this stuff, especially Zelensky. He uses his cards. And Trump, technically, maybe he has some cards, but he never plays them. He's kind of a wimp in a way. Trump, maybe you call him a paper tiger. He talks tough all the time, but I don't know. The only time he's actually, when he was talking tough, and he actually really followed through, is he's bombing the crap out of Yemen. Because these people are virtually defenseless, and it has to do with Israel. Israel, as you all know, they're more privileged than any state in the United States. Israel gets what Israel wants. The only time that Israel has never gotten what it wants is Netanyahu insists, and he's been insisting all this time. Well, there are two things. He's insisting the United States bombs Iran. It's like, yeah, we don't like Iran, so you have to bomb them for us because you are our big slaves. Like I said, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy, Rocket, with Groot, that big tree. Well, the United States is Groot, and the little intelligent little raccoon is Israel. Normally, the United States does what Israel tells it to do. But, it hasn't done this because maybe they realize it's kind of going to be disastrous. But Pete Hegseth, he came out yesterday also, and he said, we told you what we want. We told you, we warned you, and now we are going, what is it said? There's going to be consequences at our choice time, basically he said, now we're going to bomb you. We're going to go after you, Iran. Or he said consequences. He didn't say bombing. There's going to be consequences. I don't think they're going to bomb Iran, because Iran is not a lot of these. You see, when you see the United States, they only go after weak countries. They're a big bully, and if they go after weak countries, that includes Donald Trump. You have to be very weak and practically have no means to defense, and then the United States will bomb you into smithereens. With other countries, maybe they do a little bit of sanctioning and all that, try to get them to be weak. Well, they did that with Iraq anyway. They got them weak, and then they started bombing the crap out of them, But, anyway, like Bill Clinton. And normally who they bomb very often is civilians. With Trump, maybe he was hitting Houthi positions, and these people, for the most part, they are very weak. They're not anywhere near as powerful as the United States, but they're not a bunch of dummies, and they have resolve. And I don't know if it was by accident or whatever, and I mentioned it already yesterday. Trump bombed a African refugee center, and they killed at least 80 people. And I think they were talking about the bombs, and it just basically these people are torn into shreds. All you see is some clothes around now. The clothes they were wearing, but their bodies are all incinerated. I guess somebody was talking about the heat of the bomb that they used. They mentioned the bomb. I don't know. It's not important. But anyway, a bomb so powerful, and it's very strange that it burns the bodies. It burns your body, but a lot of clothes was left over there. So you see some places, you see some blood. They were showing this in the thing, like, pools of blood in some places. Maybe that was underneath, but then the bodies are all disintegrated. That basically the bomb the United States used, it just disintegrated most of these Africans. I think there was a few that maybe were on the very outskirts, but they dropped it directly on top of it. And it's very strange because there's less wounded people remaining than the dead. It's normally you have, 3/4 of the people are wounded and 1/4 of them were actually killed. But in this case, it's kind of the other way around. I think that the last, or at least the first numbers that were coming out, that they killed 80 people and there were 47 wounded. Very strange numbers. So anyhow, and I was mentioning also about a lot of these fires and bombs, explosions going off all over the world. Where was the other ones? I don't know. I didn't even remember the names. It's just kind of strange. So let's see. Okay, I talk about this brainless rich girl, Kaya Collis, and of course her family made out like fat hogs during the Soviet Union time, back in where is she from? She's from, I get Lithuania and Latvia mixed up. I think she's from Lithuania, and of course they had a big apartment, all the best clothes and everything like that in her days. So anyway, and then she talks bad about the Russians, but anyhow. So wait. So anyway, they said, she said that the sanctions are going to stay in place. Right. Never say never. Never say never anyway. But the United States, they might whip them into shape. But I think Putin even believes that the European Union eventually will do whatever the United States wants them to do. Remember, they were talking, I think, which one of these little countries, they're really desperate to send troops to Ukraine. And they're trying to find different ways to package it on how they can send troops to Ukraine. And they're not calling them peacekeepers anymore. I can't remember what they're calling them. But it's something a little bit closer to war. But they're getting less and less likely to send troops, because the United States is not going to send troops. It's just like a bunch of, remember back in high school, there's always some big bully, and there's a bunch of kind of wimpy guys that hang around, and when the big bully wants to get somebody beat up, because the big bully is helping you and are helping them and get somebody beating up, that they join in too. They'd never do it on their own, but that's what Europe is like too. Because they want those resources. Germany's supposed to get the nuclear power, and a lot of these, I was starting to talk about that and I forgot. And they want a lot of these minerals, and of course Donald Trump making this minerals deal, that really pisses them off, because that was supposed to be theirs when they got this strategic defeat of Russia. They wanted to get in there and get these minerals, from Ukraine and Russia, or whatever the deal is. And do you think that Ukraine would have given it to them anyway? Anyhow, they would have gotten ways to harvest these minerals, and then Ukraine would, of course, being Nazis, they would kick them out, or they'd take they take huge portions of the money. It wouldn't be going to Ukraine anyway. It'd be going into the pockets. Who was it that was just also talking? Oh, it was Tucker Carlson talking, and he didn't even touch on it. He was talking about how many houses and properties you have. Well, that's nothing. What about the mining industry? Zelensky is the big gangster of the mining industry of South Africa. So he owns the majority. He owns like 51% of the whole mining industry of South Africa. He's got wineries in Italy. He's got houses in France, and he's got them in Israel. He's got them in Florida. I mean, and lots of them in Great Britain, and all kinds of things. Nobody even knows. I bet you Zelensky can't even keep track of how many properties and how many businesses and industries that he owns. Zelensky is a very rich man. He's definitely, with beyond any doubt, far richer than Donald Trump. So anyway, let's keep going here. What is it? And I was talking about Zelensky, or about Ukraine and their drones, and they're a big drone power. There's no doubt Ukraine is the biggest drone power on planet Earth, but it's not even their own drones. They're getting drones from all over the world. They get thousands and thousands of drones every single month, and it seems every single day it's like 300 drone attacks every day Ukraine sends out. They have so many drones, and it was Brian Berletic coming out. You know, he's an expert. He's got his own channel as well, and he's talking. You know, he looks into a lot of the research, and he was a former Marine as well. But he is a military analyst, and he's where's he living? Somewhere in Asia. But anyhow, he was talking about all these drones that Ukraine has, and he says Russia is getting better and better at countering these drones. They can find these drones, and get, you know, shoot these drones down. Really, really good at that. And they said it's going to get better as time goes by. But I don't know how many drones. Australia sends thousands and thousands of drones every month to Ukraine. The Baltic states sends thousands of drones, and I don't know how many United States sends. The United States, believe it or not, is not really so great on drones as you would think they would be. But Elon Musk, of course, said that is the future. So he's trying to push a huge drone industry. The United States, at one point in the very near future, I would say within the next 2 years, they will be one of the big drone powers, military drone powers. And of course, it all started out with Obama. Anyway, Obama, he loved bombing weddings and children playing soccer. How many soccer games, you know, children playing soccer in Afghanistan and Pakistan? And it used to be that for all these drone attacks, Obama had to personally sign off on all of them. And no, you know, he would make jokes. He would make jokes about his drone attacks. You know, in these dinners and things like that about him, and for the most part, he killed a lot of innocent people, more innocent people than he killed military people. Obama loved killing people with drones. They called him the drone president even at that time, if you guys, you know, don't remember. And then, of course, they loosened this all up, and now it's a free-for-all. You can send out drones and kill people anytime you want, no matter where you want. But the United States, like I said, they kind of fallen behind, but trust me, they will be very big very, very soon in the drone thing. Okay, Poland was even sending drones. Finland was sending drones. So averaging around 300 a day. So sometimes they only had 100 drone attacks per day, and most of them Russia's able to knock them out, of course. Let's see. Close. And Trump again came out and said that the amount of money that they sent to Ukraine, I was going to go walking up there, but I decided I'm not going to. I like the trees much more. But anyway, he said that the money is $350 billion. He said it's very close to that amount of money, and it's not $100 billion. And Ukraine is insisting that this new minerals deal has nothing to do with Ukraine having to pay back these hundreds of billions of dollars that the United States was sending to them for to make war against Russia. And I don't know if Trump is talking about from before the war started, when the United States started flooding them with weapons. The United States and Europe flooding Ukraine with weapons, knowing fully well that they're going to want to start a war with Russia. And of course, they still have that. They still, I don't say about Trump, but I'm talking about the Europeans. They still want this war with Russia. They want war with Russia. They hate Russia. And I was mentioning yesterday so much, and Russia even knows this, that the Europeans, they really hate this May 9th celebration stuff, because I guess there's a lot of reasons, and a lot of people come out. Peskov was coming out, very, very interesting speech. Lukashenko was talking. Medvedev was talking. Putin was talking, and lots of other people. I think Oliver Stone was even there. You know, the Hollywood guy, and lots of things about you know. But they really hate this May 9th, and I think they hate the fact that it was Russia that defeated the Nazis. And that's one reason why they're trying to change this history. And a lot of talk is about them trying to change history, and they've been working on this for quite some time, changing the history, probably to make Russia look like they're the Nazis and things like that. And it's like, you know, a lot of these speeches that, like I mentioned it yesterday, it's about the growth of Nazism. And they didn't even mention the fact that, in truth, you know, because Poland, they suffered a lot from the Nazis back then, and they, you know, even though a lot of them were on the side of Adolf Hitler and Poland as well, And to be honest with you, Russia was originally on the side of Adolf Hitler at the very beginning, not militarily, but maybe verbally. And of course that changed. Stalin liked Hitler, and then of course saw what he was doing, and of course then it was over. Then he was against Hitler, saw that Hitler's not such a nice guy and not a socialist. Probably he thought that Adolf Hitler is a socialist because his party is called the National Socialist Party, even though Hitler was a socialist, but he was not the socialist that Stalin had envisioned him. Stalin was not always a very nice guy either, of course. And but of course history, to include Khrushchev, they made Stalin out to be far worse than Stalin actually was. But you had a lot of people, one of the rules of history is the good people were never as good as they say they are in history, and the bad people are never as bad as they say they were. And if you start saying that there are some positive things about Adolf Hitler, of course everybody will attack you, because that has worked, that Adolf Hitler is pure evil and all this. But Hitler did some decent things, but I guess the bad is what, it outweighs the good. So anyway, let's keep going about this here. Over 300,000. Oh, and it was over 300 billion is what I was mean. What does it say in here? EU sent. Well, the EU sent 100 billion, but they had guarantees, and that tells you why the Europeans are frothing at the mouth. They're frothing at the mouth. We have to defeat Russia, and trying to get the United States in. It is because it's an investment. Do you think Ukraine has paid them back? Absolutely not. They've invested like 100 billion, and they have guarantees on that. But of course, the guarantees are going to be worthless if Russia is victorious. Do you think Russia is going to say, okay, well, we'll pay you back for all the money that you gave to Ukraine to kill Russians? I don't think that's going to happen. So they have to, for the Europeans, it's a must. And of course, like I said, they've always hated the Russians. So, and they've always lost. Napoleon. Anyway, I talked about Pete Hegseth already. Yeah, that he wants to go after that. RFK Jr., he came out and he said, I think it was Health and Human Services, HHS, under Joe Biden was very, very involved into child trafficking. And obviously, there's money involved here, and they were obviously taking American children even, not just these Hispanic children coming over the border, but they were taking American children and trafficking them. And he said that they still have to find 300,000 children that during the Biden administration that they trafficked. Did I say that? Did I say that the United States government was involved in child trafficking? I absolutely said that. RFK said that in the cabinet meeting. And yet here they're going after Vladimir Putin for some things, and it's a proven fact what happened there. But no, the International Criminal Court has to get Putin and make him a war criminal for doing good things, for getting children out of the war zone, reuniting them with their families. And it's very strange that some of these children that they attributed to Russia getting, they ended up somehow, they're in Germany. The Germans are trafficking them. So this is some nasty, nasty stuff, child trafficking. And they do it under the guise of legality, as if the good people are the ones, oh no, it's these bad guys doing it, when it's actually the German government, the Ukrainian government, obviously, the American government, child trafficking. And there's been movies made. What about Mel Gibson? What did he say? And what is this thing from Freedom or whatever? There was a movie about this. It was a movie, but it's sort of the form of a documentary. There's a lot of well-known people. The guy that was in that the Passion of the Christ, the main actor who played Jesus in there, he's against all this stuff, and he's exposing a lot of this. What about, I don't even know, I get these two mixed up, Oprah Winfrey or Whoopi Gold. I think it's Oprah Winfrey. And what about Michelle Obama? There's so many of them. How loud do you have to scream child trafficking? And I was saying when I was working with Dave, it was back last year, I was calling the war against children. And there certainly is There certainly is a war against children. It's really terrible. And yet, oh, these people, oh, shh, don't pay any attention to that man behind the curtain. Terrible crap, you know. Anyway. So, let's see. Pete Hegseth, I already talked about him, warning Iran, saying, yeah, he said we're going to strike you a time and place of our choosing. Well, what is that going to be? I don't know. It sounds like a military strike to me. Time or place. That doesn't somehow sanctions time or place. It sounds like a military strike for me. Well, good luck on that one. Let's see what Iran is going to do. Iran was very restrained when they went against Israel. Very measured and very restrained. So, let's see what happens on that. Did I talk about Keith Kellogg? Yeah, I didn't talk about this. This is the last, well, kind of the last thing I'm going to be talking about here. Keith Kellogg, he's coming out and said, Russia is not winning this war. Russia is not winning it. And listen to his reasons. His reasoning is, oh, they're gaining in meters, not in kilometers. So you see all these settlements, you know, they have this footage where Russia raising the flag, and then Zelensky came out and said, oh, we still have troops in Kursk. And Russia came out and said, yeah, they have, like, in places they have 2 or 3 guys hiding in basements that have not yet surrendered. And of course, Russia can blow them up anytime they want. They're trying to get them to surrender to save their lives. And they said, Russia said they're even taking prisoners of war, Ukrainian prisoners of war, bringing them and trying to, you know, them to talk to these people to surrender instead of getting killed. You know, they're hiding out in the basements of houses and stuff like that. And of course, all the supply lines are cut off. These people cannot be resupplied. Makes you wonder, where are they getting their food? So it's going to be over very, very soon. In other words, it's all cut off. Anyone that is in there, you know, their time, it's just a question of time, I guess what I should say. Okay, Kellogg was saying that Russia's not winning. He said it on Fox News yesterday. And that's, like I said, the one reason maybe why Russia didn't want to deal with Kellogg. I guess his daughter makes big money. Believe me, part of what she makes money on is a lot of this stuff that Ukraine is in trafficking, drugs trafficking. I'm not sure which branch, is it drug trafficking or organ trafficking or child trafficking, but his daughter is involved in making money with some of these illicit industries of Ukraine. Shh, don't talk about that. And I guess that's why he is for Ukraine. And that's, you know, I don't know, you don't hear too much about him. He just goes on Fox and CNN all the time and talking, but you don't hear about him actually being involved in any of the processes that's, you know, negotiation between Russia, United States, and Ukraine, so obviously. But he said they haven't made any territorial advances in 18 months. Well, what about Sudzha, you know, major city, the biggest, well, that was in Kursk, actually. Anyway, they got rid of them out of Kursk. And of course, they've been getting these little settlements all over the place in the Donbass. I don't know if it's as big as Russia, or people say that Russia is gaining. I don't know. So I'm not there. Okay. He said one of the indications that Ukraine is winning is because Ukraine is fighting on their own territory. That doesn't make any sense to me, though. So if the enemy is occupying and it's on your territory, that means that you're winning. That's some crazy logic. Makes you wonder, why is this guy in any kind of position whatsoever? I mean, I wouldn't even let him be talking to the press. Sounds like idiocy, if you ask me. Sounds like, yeah, well, he's an idiot. You know, maybe he can get together with Annalena Baerbock, 360 degrees Baerbock, some of the crap that she comes up with. Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, that's about it. How long is this video? It's almost an hour. Gosh, I'm starting to make these hour-long videos. I don't know, not getting so many views. And of course, YouTube is taking forever to upload my videos, just like yesterday. And the day before, man, over 12 friggin' hours. And I'm finding out that it does have something to do with where you're uploading it. When I was in town yesterday, I started uploading it while I was there, immediately right after I made the video. And when I was going into the subway, I think it was like 30% uploaded. And then by the time I got home, it took many hours after that. So like maybe 15 minutes of hanging around, 30% was uploaded. And then the rest of it, the 70%, it took like, I don't know, 5 hours. The day before, the video took 12 and a half hours to upload onto YouTube. So a lot of it has to probably do here with Belarus, more than with YouTube. I don't know. I'm not crazy about YouTube anyway. You guys know why. Anyhow, well, that's about it for today. And it's actually kind of cold. I didn't mention that. It says, I think last time I looked it was 8 degrees, but my hands are kind of frozen. I'll tell you what, it's right near freezing. It's maybe only 2 or 3 degrees right now. Makes you wonder, when is this cold friggin' weather gonna go away? Anyway, okay, it'll be better for the May 9th celebration. I might go to the parade here in Minsk. I'm kind of planning on that if I don't have any big plans or something that I have to do for that. So I maybe will be filming that. Can't do live, but I'm going to try to get some film footage. It's very difficult to get good positions. A lot of time it's reserved. Anyhow, Lukashenko's going to be in Moscow for that celebration at that time. So I don't know if security is going to be super bad. You know, things blocked off. I don't know. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to start uploading this. I don't know, I got some footage this morning of a hedgehog sitting in the road and a cat. Maybe I'll try to put those onto this. It takes a lot longer than to do that, but I hate this editing stuff. I'll try to do that. So anyway, thanks for joining me. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Hey, how you doing? Oh, it looks like you're pregnant. You're a fat boy or a pregnant, looks like you're a girl cat. Ah, you got your places over here, huh? Do a little scratching first, huh? Looks like a little hole over here for kitties. That's a lot of people, as you see, maybe they turn their storage areas into cat houses, make places here for them to get in. Where did he go? Oh, there he is. She is. Hey, where's she going? There's another one here. Huh? Don't think that's one. Hey, guy. I want to see your face. Where are you at, huh? Are you too old, or how come you're running around out here, huh? Mr. Hedgehog? I don't know. I know you guys are hard to pick up, but can I move you, get you out of the road here? I guess I gotta use both hands. Let me carry you out of the road here. Okay, come on. Oh, gosh. No, I can't. Anyway, I don't think this guy's gonna get run over. Not so much traffic. Oh, there you go. Get somewhere. Where do you live? Hey, have a place to hide out? Somewhere? Come on, you should move off the road. Who knows, somebody's gonna come and bother you. Ouch. Ouch, you got all these needles on you. Anyway.